Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we've got something pretty wild for the eyes, the 2015 Toyota Tacoma TRDpro. Now TRDpro, it's a special edition they're offering on this, the 4Runner and the Tundra full-size truck for ultimate off-road capability. And there's some visuals in there too. Now for the Tacoma, it's sort of a last hurrah for this year because there's a redesign coming for 2016. But that notwithstanding, this truck here has a lot going on both inside and out and underneath. So we're going to take it off-road today and see what it can really do. When it comes to style, there's no doubt the camera loves this truck. In the kick-your-ass color of Inferno, the TRDpro simply cannot be ignored, and the contrast with its 16-inch beadlock-style TRD wheels really makes it pop. Note I said beadlock style, as they aren't the real deal, but in the end, I doubt anyone will care. Our tester was optioned with the aluminum TRD front skid plate, which really ought to be standard, as I think this truck would look really naked without it. Out back, you'll see a big fat polished tip of the standard TRD exhaust, which adds a sound which, like its styling, also cannot be ignored. In the bed, a standard 115-volt power outlet, an adjustable bed rail system, and storage compartments are all complemented by an optional rubber bed mat, giving the TRDpro its stance as the starring attraction here, a buff off-road suspension which adds a near 2-inch lift up front. Spring rates are softer and the suspension has increased travel. Up front are hugely upgraded Bilstein shocks, and at the rear an elaborate pair of Bilstein external reservoir shocks. The interior of the TRDpro does get a few extra duds as well, including a pair of logo floor mats and a shift knob. Outside of that, this cabin is otherwise mid-grade with cloth-trimmed manually adjustable sports seats. Design is simple and relatively basic, having been with us for the better part of a decade with few changes or upgrades. There is a 6.1-inch touchscreen audio system which does offer the expected connectivity options, but it's by no means audiophile material. The rear seat, of course, in the largest double cab offers plenty of space and is reasonably comfortable. It can be folded down easily in a 60-40 split with rugged decking on their backs for long life with gear being tossed around on them. Controls for the four-wheel drive system are found on the center stack with manual but electrically assisted shifting of the transfer case. Buttons for the various traction toys can be found both here and on the left of the instrument panel. And to that, the Tacoma TRDpro has a lot of toys. You not only have a robust transfer case with a true low range, but electronic control programs like A-TRAC, which is a traction control system on steroids. I've tested it in the worst of conditions before, including snow and mud, and trust me, it's good. Also at your disposal is hill descent control and an electronic locking rear differential for those times when you really need to put the truck on lockdown. Brakes are front discs, but believe it or not, this thing still has drums at the rear. One of the things I absolutely love about living out here in the Sonoran Desert is the ability to take vehicles like this out off the pavement and see what they can really do. Now, I'll be upfront and honest, I am not a hardcore off-roader. I don't have, actually, believe it or not, that many hardcore off-road trails available to me out here. Most of them are moderate trails like this. So while I won't be testing all of the super traction toys this has today, what I am getting a really good feel for is this suspension. So when it comes to off-road suspensions, what I have found in my travels is that there are two schools of thought. One is you make it super compliant, you put good dampers on there so that it absorbs the rough stuff and really lets you comfortably blow through the wild without needing a kidney transplant at the end of the day. The other school of thought is you make the suspension very firm so that, well, you don't bottom out and it can take the harsh punishment. Here I think what Toyota and TRD have done, they've really leaned towards the firm, and so it's very capable out here in all these bumps and ruts. I haven't yet bottomed out, but it's a pretty rough ride. Woo! It's a fun one though, I'll give it that. Now this Now this wouldn't be one of my reviews if I didn't take this thing rolling down the desert washboard road, because this ribbed vibrating surface can really put a chassis to its test. It can tell you how solid it is, it can tell you how compliant the suspension is, and how isolated everything is in terms of vibrations and harshness. What I'm finding here is, well, this is an off-road truck. It's got a ladder frame, a very stiff suspension, and so I am getting quite a bit of shudder, quite a bit of rattles in here in the interior. Woo! And, well, you know you're in a truck. Need I say more? Another thing I'd like to note as I'm rolling around the curves on this washboard gravel road is how the stability control is behaving here, because especially in a pickup truck which has a very light rear end, a lot of times the rear end just wants to slide out on you as you come around these corners, especially if you lift off the throttle just a little bit, which I'm actually doing just to see what happens. And what I'm finding is the stability control actually steps in pretty quick there, just like it did. Immediately I can feel the brakes tipping in on just the right wheels to keep this thing from rotating. So that part of it is pretty well tuned. Overall, I was impressed with the Tacoma TRDpro's ability to be pushed around out on the back trails without showing weak knees. Its suspension, however, is tuned a bit stiffer than most off-road oriented vehicles, and you'll feel that after a long day out here. Now that we're back on the pavement, I'm finding that the handling up here on this windy mountain road is actually pretty sketch. I mean, it's shaky, it's jittery. I'm getting a lot of rattling in the chassis and through the interior parts here, going over some of the rougher pavement patches. And if you go around a corner a little bit quick, it kind of makes you think you shouldn't be doing that. And I know it's an off-road truck. It's not meant to be a BMW out here in a windy mountain road. But let's face it, most people that own pickup trucks spend most of their life on the pavement. Most of the world is paved. Under the hood is Toyota's venerable 4-liter V6 truck engine with 236 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque. In the TRDpro, it's only available with a 5-speed automatic transmission. Worth noting, however, our tester was optioned with a high-performance air filter from TRD. Now, this 4-liter engine works pretty hard to move this pretty heavy truck, and at 236 horsepower, it certainly isn't the most powerful engine in its class anymore, and it only drives us through 5 forward gears with the automatic, so not really competitive, and honestly not that enjoyable to drive in terms of power and power delivery. Now, this is all academic because for 2016, the Tacoma's getting an all-new powertrain, more gears, more power, more fuel efficiency, but it is worth noting here for 2015 that this engine is getting a little bit long in tooth. For 2016, the Toyota Tacoma will receive the brand's newest 3.5-liter V6 with both port and direct fuel injection, which offers up some 306 horsepower. It'll be paired with either a 6-speed manual or 6-speed automatic transmission, which should bring better fuel economy. Back to the present, the EPA rates the 2015 Tacoma TRDpro as tested at 16 mpg city, 21 mpg highway, and 18 mpg combined. Having spent a week not only driving off-road and in the mountains as you see here, but on the highway and in town, we achieved 15 mpg combined, well below the EPA estimates. When it comes to safety, the 2015 Toyota Tacoma receives good ratings from the IIHS for the moderate overlap and side impact crash tests, as well as performance of the head restraints and seats. It did receive a marginal rating for roof crush and has not yet been tested for the new small overlap crash. Wrapping it up for the Toyota Tacoma TRDpro, I gotta tell you, the very first thing that came to my mind when I saw this thing was high school. Because man, if you had a Toyota 4x4 pickup like this back in the day, you got laid all the time. Because man, if you had a Toyota 4x4 pickup like this back in the day, you were very popular. And if there was a big cool dog in the back, you didn't even have to try out for the football team. They just issued you a number and handed you a trophy, and off to Cooldom you went. They were that hot. But I'm sort of aging myself there with that little bit of a story, and I think the truck here sort of showing its age as well. That price tag right there, $40,500. 40 large for a mid-sized pickup truck, no matter how many off-road toys it has on it, I think is a little bit on the steep side given the rest of its overall character and creature comforts aren't quite up to snuff with some of the new competitors out there. Fuel economy, same story. This powertrain been around for a while, and yes, it will be replaced for 2016. That's going to help quite a bit, but that fuel economy there is, whoo, you know, that'll really show up in the wallet. Now, as we look at the stars, the other areas where we compare this against its peers, it really does fall short, and that's mainly because it's just been around for a while and it hasn't had any significant updates. Again, most of these things will be fixed for 2016, but today we're in the here and now, and here, this gets 3.5 stars for the week. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Well folks, if you like what you saw today, click on the link right there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We produce almost a new video every single day. Sometimes it's test drives, other times automotive news. Other times, well, something different altogether, like today I've got half a mind to produce a video of me just following a BMW on a windy mountain road who thinks it's okay to go 15 freaking miles per hour. A BMW. Come back and see us.